Every night my daughter calls at exactly 11:23 p.m. and always asks, "Mom, are you home?" If I answer yes, she hangs up in cold silence. If I say no, she demands to know who's there. Last night, I felt something was off. A few minutes after the call ended, I heard a noise at the back door. A figure glided past the glass. My heart pounding, I forced myself to look inside. On the table, there was a pristine white envelope I had never placed there. What I found inside revealed a secret that had been hidden for 3 decades. Hello everyone, I'm grateful you're here. Before we begin, drop a comment. Where are you watching from? What time is it where you are? And have you ever seen someone over 60 underestimated because of their age? Your comments help me understand this. Community better. Quick note. This story includes fictional elements for entertainment and to deliver a clear message. Any similarity to actual names or places is purely coincidental. But the lesson about age strength and wisdom is something I deeply believe in. The invoice had been the same line item for 10 minutes. Oats 50-pound sack, $18.50. November fog pressed against the stable office window, and the cold made my joints ache. I'd been 60 for 3 months, Richard gone for 3 years, but nights like this still felt like waiting. My fingers found the locket at my throat. Heavy gold, old-fashioned. Richard gave it to me on our 20th anniversary and insisted I never take it off. I hadn't. Even with the clasp wearing thin and the chain leaving a faint green mark on my collarbone, I wore it every day. From Storm's stall came a low, anxious whinny. The big gray gelding had been restless all evening. Storm had been Richard's horse before he got too sick to ride, and the animal never quite forgave me for not being him, except on nights like this when something in the air felt wrong. My phone lit up. 11:23, Melissa. Melissa. Her voice came through flat, almost rehearsed. Are you alone, Mom? I glanced around the small office. 4 walls, 1 door, 1 window, stacks of feed catalogs. The space heater humming in the corner. Yes, I said. The line went dead. Not even a goodbye. Just the click, then silence. For 3 months, Melissa had called at exactly 11:23. Always the same question. When I said yes, she hung up. No explanation. Just the question, my answer, and that hollow click. But tonight felt different, colder. Storm screamed. Not a whinny, a full-throated alarm that sliced straight through me. I jerked upright, the phone clattering against the desk. Something moved outside the office door. The handle turned, slow, deliberate, metal grinding against metal. I had locked that door. I knew I had. 40 years of ranch life. Lock up when you're alone. Richard had drilled it into me. The handle stopped. Someone was testing it. I pressed myself against the wall beside the filing cabinet. Through the frosted glass panel, a shadow passed. Tall, broad-shouldered, moving carefully. Footsteps retreated, gravel crunching, fading into fog. I counted to 300. 5 full minutes with my heart pounding against my ribs, my hand gripping the locket like it could anchor me. When I finally moved, my knees trembled. The door was still locked. I checked it twice. Solid. I cracked it open an inch. Fog rolled between the stalls in thick waves swallowing the overhead lights. Storm had gone quiet, but I could hear his breathing fast, uneven. Nothing else. No footsteps, no voices. I closed the door, locked it again, turned back to the desk. The envelope sat in the exact center, white against scarred oak. I froze. That envelope had not been there. I had been at this desk for nearly 2 hours. There had been nothing on that blotter. No one could have gotten in. The door had been locked. The window barely opened wide enough for a stray cat. My skin crawled. And then I noticed it faint but unmistakable. A metallic scent in the air. Not the smell of a stranger. Not cologne, not sweat. Old oil. Metal. Something long dormant shifting back into place. The desk, my familiar oak desk, seemed to settle almost imperceptibly, as if something inside it had just released. I stepped closer. The envelope lay there, heavy paper, expensive stock. No seal, no address, just waiting. When I picked it up, it felt cool. Not icy, just colder than the room. Inside was a photograph. Old, slightly faded. I recognized the barn immediately. Porter Ranch, 28 years younger, when the oak trees were saplings and the paint hadn't begun to peel. 4 people. Richard, maybe 35, his arm around my shoulders, me holding baby Melissa, and 2 strangers. A tall man with dark hair, his hand resting on Richard's shoulder with easy familiarity. A woman beside me, sharp-featured, but smiling. They looked like family. I turned the photo over. Handwriting I didn't recognize. The partnership, 1997. Some debts never expire. Partnership was underlined twice. What did you do, Richard? My phone rang again. Different number. Blocked caller ED. I stared at it, the photograph in my hand, the envelope on my desk, the locked door untouched. Outside, Storm began to scream again. I stared at the phone. Blocked caller ID Storm had gone quiet, but I could still feel the echo of his scream in my bones. My thumb hovered over decline. Every instinct Richard drilled into me said, hang up. Don't answer numbers you don't know. But the photograph lay on my desk. Richard's hand on that stranger's shoulder. Friends. I answered. Hello, Mrs. Porter. A man's voice, calm professional but urgent underneath. This is Michael Bradford. I'm an attorney. I apologize for the late hour. How did you get this number? From Arthur Brennan's files. I've been trying to reach you for weeks. Your daughter has been blocking my calls. The air left my lungs. What do you mean blocking calls? I represent the estate of Arthur and Helen Brennan, the couple in the photograph you're holding. My gaze snapped to the picture. The tall man. The woman with severe features. How could he know? They knew someone would find you tonight. They left instructions. He paused. They're dead. 6 months ago. Car accident in Maine. You're named in their will. $6.8 million. The world tilted. I grabbed the desk. I don't understand. Who were they? Your husband's closest friends, his partners, before everything went sideways. Partners. The word underlined twice. Arthur and Richard met in college. Best friends for 15 years. They started a business together in 1995. Legitimate real estate investment. The 4 of you were nearly family. I shook my head. I've never met them. You did, once, in 1997. You were pregnant with Melissa. Richard brought you to Boston. A memory surfaced. Dim restaurant lighting. Laughter. A woman's hand on mine, warm and reassuring. There was a dinner party. That was the last time you saw them. 2 weeks later, Richard discovered that Arthur's partner, Marcus Westwood, was laundering money through their company. $5.2 million over 2 years. My stomach dropped. Richard uncovered all of it. He had proof. He should have gone to the police. Instead, he made a deal. A partnership agreement. Arthur would give Richard the ranch money to start over. Richard would keep the evidence hidden. Both men would stay silent about Westwood. That's blackmail. That's survival. 2 friends protecting each other from a monster. It wasn't about greed. It was about making sure their families didn't end up dead. Friends, not criminals, just 2 men caught in a nightmare. But it fell apart, I whispered. Westwood found out 3 years ago. He killed Richard first, then the Brennans. The room spun. Richard's cancer. The doctors saying it was aggressive, unusual, fast. I'd never questioned it. Except they didn't. Not like that. There's a problem. Your daughter has been to my office 3 times. She's trying to obtain legal guardianship. She claims you're cognitively impaired. That's absurd. I know, but she's building a case. Documentation. Medical consultations. Tell me, has Melissa been calling you every night to ask if you're alone? Ice slid down my spine. Yes, at 11:23, for 3 months. She's establishing a pattern. Isolation. She'll use it to argue you're not competent to manage your affairs. Rage surged through me. My own daughter. She doesn't know the whole story. Someone's been manipulating her, feeding her lies about Richard, about you, making her believe she's protecting you when really she's helping them take everything. Westwood. Arthur left a video statement. You need to see it. There's a 24-hour branch of First National Bank, safe deposit box 389. Does that number mean anything? Box 389. Richard had mentioned it once years ago. Late at night, medication making him loose. He grabbed my hand and whispered, If anything happens to me, 389. Don't forget. Richard mentioned it once, years ago. I can be there by 1:30. Can you meet me? And Mrs. Porter, don't tell anyone, especially not Melissa. If anyone comes to your ranch before I arrive, even your daughter, don't let them in. The line went dead. I sat there staring at the photograph. Richard and Arthur, friends, brothers, torn apart by a devil in a business suit. And Melissa, building a case against me. 3 months of phone calls cataloging my isolation. I needed to find what Richard had hidden. Box 389 held answers. But first, I needed to understand how that envelope had gotten into a locked room. I turned the key in the stable office lock and tested the handle twice. Solid. Secure. The same way it had been when someone got inside anyway. My hand froze on the doorknob. A memory surfaced. 15 years ago, standing here with Melissa. She'd just gotten her driver's license. I'd pressed a spare key into her palm. For emergencies, sweetheart. She still had it. She could have gotten in. But why leave the photograph? Why not just take whatever she wanted? Unless she wanted me to find it. Unless it was a message. I pocketed both phones. The fog had thickened, turning the barnyard into gray shapes and dim halos. 100 yards to the main house. Halfway across, I stopped and looked back. The stable office window glowed warm through the murk. The envelope had been there. I'd seen it, held it. Or had I? Maybe I'd left it hours ago and forgotten. Maybe Melissa was right. Maybe I was losing my mind. Number one, I knew what I knew. The house loomed ahead dark except for the porch light. I hadn't been in Richard's study since the funeral. For 3 years, I'd walked past that closed door and told myself I'd deal with it eventually. Eventually was tonight. The room smelled like him. Old Spice and leather and musty books. His desk meticulously organized. Papers in neat piles. Pens lined up. The wedding photo in its silver frame. He'd been a good man. I'd loved him for 30 years. That had to count for something. I started with the top drawer. Receipts for farm equipment. Tax records. Feed bills, everything labeled with precision. The second drawer held more of the same, bank statements, insurance policies. The third drawer stuck. I tugged harder and it scraped open to reveal equipment manuals. The top one was for a 1995 John Deere tractor we'd sold 20 years ago. Why keep a manual for equipment we didn't own? I lifted the stack. Underneath, sealed in heavy cardstock, was an envelope, the same expensive paper as the one in the stable office. My breath caught. He'd put this here deliberately, somewhere Melissa would look first. This room had been her favorite when she was little. She'd hide under the desk, curl up with coloring books spin in his office chair. She knew this desk better than I did. Richard had known. If something happened to him, Melissa would search here first, and he'd left this for her to find. I opened it carefully. Inside was a small brass key and a folded note in Richard's handwriting. Evelyn, my love. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for all of it. This key opens box 389 at First National Bank. Go alone, tell no one, especially not Melissa. She doesn't understand. She can't understand what I did or why. She found documents 10 years ago. I told her part of the truth. It poisoned her mind against me. This key will lead her to the bank, but it won't open the box. The real key is where I've always kept my heart close to you. Some secrets are meant to protect, not harm. I love you, always. Richard. I read it twice, understanding dawning. This was bait. He'd wanted Melissa to find this, to waste time at the bank with the wrong key while I used the real one. The real key is close to you. My hand went to the locket at my throat, heavier than usual. I thought it was age making me notice the weight, but maybe it was something else. I didn't open it. Not yet, but the suspicion settled in my chest like a stone. I pocketed the brass key and the note. Thank you, Richard. Always 3 steps ahead. My watch read 12:15. Bradford would be at the bank by 1:30. I needed to leave soon. But curiosity pulled me to the filing cabinet. I found the property deed for Porter Ranch buried under mortgage documents. The header stopped me cold. Transfer of ownership, November 1997. Previous owners Arthur and Helen Brennan. Not a purchase, a gift. Friends helping friends. Until Melissa decided it was stolen. My phone rang, shattering the silence. Melissa's name lit up the screen. 12:20 a.m., an hour early. She never called outside the pattern. Something had changed. The phone glowed in my hand. Melissa, 12:20 a.m., an hour before her usual pattern. In 3 months, she'd never called outside 11:23, not once. She knew something. I answered, keeping my voice steady. Melissa. Mom. Tight. Strained. Like she was holding something back. Where are you? In the house. Why is something wrong? I tried calling at the regular time. You answered somewhere that sounded echoey. Where were you? I glanced at Richard's desk. The brass key. The note. The property deed still lying open in the filing cabinet. Stable office. Checking on Storm. He's been restless. Silence. She was processing, testing for lies. Are you alone, Mom? Bradford's warning echoed in my head. Don't tell anyone, especially not Melissa. The brass key sat heavy in my pocket. She would search for it. She might come tonight. If I said yes, she'd use that against me. Another data point in her case. Another night of isolation to document. If I said yes, she might come immediately. I made the choice in a heartbeat. No. What? Her voice spiked. Who's there? You didn't tell me you had company. You never have company. The lie came out calm, confident, like I'd rehearsed it. There's a deputy sheriff here. Tom Bradley sent him over. They think they saw someone suspicious near the stables tonight. Someone was trying the door handles. Long silence. I could hear her breathing, could almost hear the thoughts racing behind it. She was trying to figure out if I was lying. I rarely lied. She knew that, but I'd just done it. And it had to sound real. I added detail, made it concrete. He's doing a perimeter check now, making sure all the locks are secure, checking windows. Her voice changed, harder, colder, almost mechanical. Well, that's good, Mom. That's really good. You stay safe tonight. I will. Are you okay? You sound stressed. I'm fine. Just worried about you, living out there alone. A pause. I'll come by tomorrow morning. First thing, we need to talk. Talk about what? About your future, about what's best for you, about making some changes. The word changes hung in the air like a threat. Melissa, I don't need... Good night, Mom. Lock the doors. She hung up before I could respond. I stood in Richard's study phone, still pressed to my ear, listening to dead air. She'd said tomorrow morning. But her voice had said tonight. I knew my daughter. When she wanted something, she never waited. 12:25. I had to get to the bank, but I had to be ready first. I ran to the bedroom and changed fast. Work clothes came off. Dusty jeans that smelled like hay. Flannel shirt with a torn pocket. I pulled on clean jeans, a warm thermal shirt, sturdy boots, my thick barn jacket with the reinforced shoulders. If I had to run, I needed to be ready. I grabbed my small backpack and filled it. Flashlight, water bottle, protein bar, phone charger, first aid kit. The kind of supplies you pack when you don't know what's coming. I paused at the mirror, touched the locket at my throat. Close to you. Richard's comfort, even now. I didn't open it, not yet. That moment would come later. Back to the study. I pocketed the brass decoy key and Richard's note. Proof I'd need if this went sideways. I walked to the front door. My hand was on the knob when headlights swept across the living room wall. 12:30. A vehicle tore up the driveway. Fast. Too fast for the gravel road. Bradford had said 1:30. This wasn't him. I moved to the window, stayed behind the curtain. The SUV skidded to a stop near the porch. Melissa's vehicle. She'd lied. She wasn't coming tomorrow morning. She was here now. 2 people inside. Melissa driving. Someone in the passenger seat. Male, broad shoulders. She'd brought backup. My pulse hammered against my ribs. The lie had worked. She thought a deputy was here. She thought I wasn't alone. That's why she'd come so fast. To verify, to catch me in the lie. To use it as more evidence of my incompetence. But I had something she didn't. I knew this ranch, every building, every shadow, every exit. The hayloft window in the main barn, the service door behind the equipment shed, the old logging road that cut through the back pasture and came out 2 miles down the highway, and I had 5 minutes before they reached the door. Melissa stepped out of the SUV. Brandon was driving. She'd brought backup, planned this whole thing. She'd been on the road when she called. The deputy sheriff story. She knew it was a lie. I couldn't go out the front. They'd see me. I moved toward the back door, fast and silent. Behind me, the front door, a key sliding into the lock, metal turning, tumblers clicking. She had the key. Of course she did. I'd given it to her 15 years ago. Thank you, Mom. I'll only use it for emergencies. This was her emergency, not mine. I slipped out the back door as the front opened. Melissa's voice echoed through the house. Mom, it's me. I know you said there was a deputy, but his car isn't in the driveway. Sweet, concerned, laced with anger underneath. I crossed the yard toward the barn. Fog helped, cold, disorienting. But I knew these paths blind. Brandon's voice behind me. She's not answering. Check upstairs. I'll check the stables. They were splitting up, smart. I reached the main barn. Couldn't hide in Storm's stall. They'd check there first. The hayloft. High ground. I climbed fast. Adrenaline made it easier than it should have been, but my 60-year-old knees protested every rung. I hauled myself up. Hay bales stacked high, dust hanging in the air. I crouched behind the back wall bales pressed low. Footsteps below, boots on concrete. Melissa's voice drifted up. Mom, are you here? Please. I just want to talk. She moved down the aisle, opening stall doors, methodical. Brandon. Lights are off. She must have run. Melissa. Her truck's still in the driveway. She's on foot in this fog, at 60. She can't have gone far. Check every stall. Doors slid open, closed, systematic search. Storm screamed, high and sharp, spooked by strangers. Brandon. Jesus Christ, that horse is crazy. I'm not going near it. Melissa. Then check the feed room. I'll finish the stalls. I stayed frozen, barely breathing, back pressed to hay. Minutes crawled. They finished the ground floor. Brandon returned. Nothing. She's not here. Maybe she really did leave. Melissa. Nearest neighbor is 3 miles, in fog, middle of the night. She's 60 years old. No, she's around here somewhere. Brandon. How do you even know she's awake? Melissa. I've been calling her every night for 3 months, establishing a pattern, and tonight she broke it. She lied about the deputy. How do you know? Because I called Sheriff Bradley's office this afternoon, asked them to check on her. They said they'd send someone if needed. I told them never mind, there was no deputy. She lied, which means she knows something, which means she's hiding something. Brandon, or hiding somewhere. What about the hayloft? My heart stopped. Melissa. Good idea, let's check. Footsteps on the ladder, wood creaking. I looked around, desperate. Window at the far end, overlooking the yard. The hay pile, 10 feet below. Fresh delivery 2 days ago, loose, soft. Melissa's head appeared through the hatch. Flashlight beams swept across the bales. Mom, I know you're up here. She stepped fully into the loft. Brandon climbed behind her, blocking the ladder, the only exit. You know what's funny, Mom? You thought locking doors would keep me out, but you gave me a key 15 years ago. Remember, for emergencies, you said. And this is an emergency. You're not well. You're paranoid. You lied about the police. You need help. I stayed silent, pressed against the wall. Melissa moved closer. I talked to Michael Bradford today. He called my office, said he represents some estate leaving you money. Mom, that's a scam. Classic elder exploitation. And you're falling for it. I understood then. She didn't know about the Brennans, didn't know about the partnership. Someone had been lying to her too. Please, Mom, you're confused. That lawyer is trying to steal from you. Come out, we'll help you. A good nursing facility. People who can take care of you. Brandon. Found her. Edge of her jacket there. They moved toward my hiding spot. No time left. I bolted from behind the bales. Ran for the window. Melissa. Mom, stop. I reached the sill. Looked down. Hay pile below. 10 feet. Brandon lunged. Don't let her. I climbed onto the ledge. One leg already out. 15 years ago, Richard had jumped from this window. Landed in the hay, laughing, calling up. Come on, Evie. It's safe. I'd been too scared then. I wasn't scared anymore. One leg out. One leg in. My hands gripped the window frame. Below, fog curled around the hay pile. I couldn't see the ground. Melissa's voice cracked. Mom, don't be ridiculous. You'll break your hip. You're 60 years old. Brandon lunged for my ankle. Ma'am, please. I jerked my leg back. Don't touch me. Melissa's tone shifted. Pleading now. Mom, I'm trying to help you. That lawyer is scamming you. There's no inheritance. It's fraud. A memory crashed over me. 30 years ago. Richard standing on this same windowsill, sunset blazing behind him. fresh cut hay below sweet smelling, summer heat. He'd laughed. "Come on, Evie, it's safe. I do this every summer when we stack hay." I'd been pregnant with Melissa, terrified. 10 feet is too high. Not with hay this deep, trust me, I'll catch you. He jumped, landed perfectly in the exploding hay, stood up grinning arms wide. "See, your turn." But younger me had been too afraid. I'd climbed back inside. Maybe next time. Richard had climbed up, kissed my forehead. "Next time, then. I'll always be here to catch you." Now I whispered, "But you're not here anymore, Richard. I have to catch myself." "Melissa." "What, Mom? What are you saying?" I looked back at my daughter, saw desperation, confusion, maybe love twisted into something dangerous. "I'm saying you want me declared incompetent. You want proof I can't take care of myself." I turned to the window, gripped the frame. "Watch this." I pushed off. Falling, stomach lurching, wind screaming, fog cold against my face. 2 seconds that felt like 20. Please let the hay be as deep as I remember. Impact. I slammed into the pile. Hay exploded around me. Sharp stalks scraped my face, filled my mouth. I sank deep, 4 feet, maybe more. Pain shot through my right hip, my left shoulder, bruised, not broken. Wind knocked out. Couldn't breathe for a moment, gasping, but alive, and I could move. "I did it, Richard. I did it." I rolled off the hay, hit the ground, limping but walking. My hip throbbed. Tomorrow there'd be a massive bruise. My shoulder ached, probably strained. But I could move, could run. Above, Melissa leaned out the window, stunned. "Mom, are you okay? Oh God, are you—" I looked up, shouted, "I'm fine, better than fine. I'm free." Brandon started down the ladder, too cautious to jump. Proof of my courage. I staggered into the fog, away from the house lights, away from them. Crossed the open ground toward the tree line at the farm's edge. Behind me, Melissa's voice, high, panicked. "Call him. Call Marcus. Tell him she's running. Tell him she found the note about the box. We need to speed everything up. Now." Marcus. I thought while running, who the hell is Marcus? Then I remembered the photo. The third man not in the picture. Westwood had to be Westwood. I reached the trees, leaned against a trunk, caught my breath. My hip pounded, my shoulder burned, but adrenaline carried me. Brandon's heavy footsteps behind me, searching the wrong direction, fog disorienting him. I checked my pockets. Flip phone intact, brass decoy key intact, note intact, locket still around my neck. I touched it, the real key. I needed to check. Not here, not now, when I was safe. 12:55. Bradford at the bank at 1:30. I couldn't get my truck. Melissa was blocking the driveway. I had to hide until Bradford arrived. Intercept him before he drove into the ranch. The old equipment shed, far edge of the pasture, abandoned, rusty, but still standing. Melissa probably didn't remember it. She hadn't visited the ranch in 2 years. I moved through fog toward the shed, limping, cold, determined. The engine roared to life. Melissa and Brandon driving off, searching the road, heading to the bank. I reached the shed, weathered wood, sagging roof, smelled like old oil and rust, door hanging crooked. I slipped inside, sat on an overturned bucket, shaking from adrenaline cold pain. I checked the flip phone, 60% battery. I should text Bradford, warn him. I typed carefully, fingers trembling. Daughter at ranch, dangerous. She knows about bank, don't come to house. Meet me at end of driveway roadside. Evelyn, sent to Bradford's number from his call. I waited in darkness, listening to night sounds. Storm's distant whinny echoed through fog. He knew I was gone. I whispered, "Sorry, boy, I'll come back for you, I promise." Headlights on the main road, far off, moving slowly closer. Bradford arriving early, or Melissa hunting. Through the shed gap, I watched headlights approach. Silver Mercedes sedan. Bradford had said he drove a Mercedes. The car slowed near the ranch entrance. Hazard lights blinking. Not turning onto the property. He got my message. He's waiting. I limped out of the shed, crossed the pasture toward the road, ground uneven, stumbling. My hips screamed with every step, but I kept moving. The Mercedes idled roadside. Bradford stepped out. 40s. Professional. Worried. "Mrs. Porter." I limped faster. "Mr. Bradford, we need to go. They're coming." He took in my appearance. Hay in my hair, jacket torn, limping, scratches on my face. He didn't ask questions, just opened the passenger door. Get in. I collapsed into the seat, relief flooding through. Bradford slid behind the wheel, pulled away smooth but quick. Your text said your daughter is dangerous. What happened? I gasped. She came to the ranch with her husband Brandon. They had a key. They cornered me in the hayloft. I had to jump 10 feet into hay. Bradford glanced at me. You jumped? I've done it before. Well, my husband did. I had to. A broken laugh. And I survived. You're bleeding. He noticed the scratch at my temple. I'm fine, just scratches from the hay. Headlights in the rear view, closing fast. Bradford, is that? I twisted around, recognized the SUV. Melissa! Bradford's jaw tightened. Hold on. He accelerated. The Mercedes surged. 2-lane rural road, fog-cutting visibility to 50 feet. The SUV gained. Newer model, stronger. Sharp right turn, tires screamed. I gripped the door. Pain flared in my shoulder. The SUV followed but oversteered slightly. Fog plus speed plus unfamiliar roads. Bradford executed a series of turns. Left, right, straight, left, again. Deliberate confusion. I clutched the door handle. How did you know to come early? I was already driving. Left the city at 11:30. Your text came when I was halfway. I rerouted to avoid your driveway. I had a feeling. Arthur Brennan's estate has created powerful enemies. Who's Marcus? I heard Melissa call that name. Bradford's face hardened. Marcus Westwood, real estate developer. Very successful, very powerful, and very dangerous. He was Arthur Brennan's business partner in 1995. Also your husband's boss. Richard worked for him. Richard was their financial analyst. Very good with numbers. They trusted him completely. Until 1997, when Richard discovered what Westwood was really doing with their money. Laundering. $5.2 million over 2 years, channeled through real estate deals. Westwood used Brennan's company as a front. When Brennan found out, Westwood threatened his wife. Richard uncovered it all. He had proof. He confronted Brennan, not Westwood. Gave Brennan a choice. The partnership deal. Exactly. Not blackmail. Survival. Richard stayed silent. Brennan helped him disappear. Both protected each other from Westwood. It worked for 28 years. Until 3 years ago, Westwood found out. Tears ran down my face. And he killed Richard. Bradford nodded grimly. Your husband had cancer. Stage 3, treatable. 6 months later, he was gone. Too fast. Arthur hired a private investigator. They found a specialist Westwood had paid. A doctor who could accelerate cancer progression. Very hard to detect. I checked the mirror. The SUV had vanished in fog. Bradford slowed slightly. Minutes of tense silence. Just engine noise and swirling fog. Where are we going? First National Bank Route 7 branch. James Peterson is waiting. Bank president, old law school friend. He's opening the vault for us privately. At 1:30 in the morning. Emergency legal access. I called in favors. The bank appeared ahead. 1-story brick building. Empty parking lot except one car. That's Peterson's. Bradford parked under a floodlight close to the side entrance. We're safe here. Peterson activated security. Cameras are recording. If Melissa shows up, we'll have proof. I exhaled. First real moment of safety in 2 hours. Bradford turned to me. Serious. Before we go inside, there's something you need to see. Arthur Brennan's video statement, 12 minutes long, about Richard, about the partnership, about your husband's death, and why Melissa is doing this. I braced myself. Show me. He pulled out a tablet. This was recorded 2 weeks before the Brennans died. I took the tablet from Bradford. My hands still shook from adrenaline and cold. The screen showed Arthur Brennan, old, gaunt, clearly dying, sitting in a home office. I recognized him from the photo, but 28 years older, fading. Bradford said quietly. He recorded this at his house. 2 weeks later, his car went off a cliff. I pressed play. Arthur Brennan spoke. I am Arthur Brennan. I am 78 years old and of sound mind. This statement is made voluntarily and witnessed by attorney Michael Bradford on November 2nd. If you're watching this, Evelyn, I'm dead, and I'm sorry for all of it." He took a deep breath. "In 1993, I met Richard Porter at a real estate investor conference in Boston. We became friends, best friends, the kind who could finish each other's sentences. In 1995, we started a commercial real estate investment company with Marcus Westwood. Westwood had connections, money, clients. We were successful, legal mostly, but Westwood wanted more, faster growth, bigger profits. Late 1995, he started bringing in money from questionable sources. For 2 years, we laundered $5.2 million through property deals. I kept the books. I knew what we were doing was criminal, but Westwood threatened my wife, Helen, said if I talked, she'd have an accident. I was weak. I stayed silent. Richard was our financial analyst, meticulous. He trusted me completely. Spring of 1997, Richard found discrepancies. He dug deeper. He found everything. The offshore accounts, the shell companies, the names of Westwood's associates. He confronted me, just me, not Westwood. Instead of going to the police, he came to my house one night, May 15th, 1997. Brought you Evelyn. You met Helen. The two of you talked about babies, about hope. After you and Helen went to bed, Richard and I sat in my study. He showed me the proof, everything. Then he said, I don't want to destroy you, Arthur. You're my best friend, but I can't let this continue, and I can't stay. He made an offer, a partnership deal. I would give him the Montana ranch, plus $200,000 to start over. He'd take the evidence and hide it, insurance. If Westwood touched him or his family, the proof would go to the FBI. It wasn't blackmail Evelyn. It was two friends trying to survive a monster. I agreed. Richard moved to Montana in June 1997. We never spoke again. Too dangerous. For 28 years, Richard kept his word, built a life, raised a daughter, never used the evidence. But 3 years ago, someone started asking questions. Federal investigators. Westwood became paranoid. Somehow he learned about Richard, about the evidence. Your husband had cancer, stage 3. Doctors said he had 2, maybe 3 years with treatment. 6 months later, he was gone. I didn't believe it was natural. I hired investigators. They found a doctor in New York, cancer specialist. Westwood paid him $200,000. There are compounds that can accelerate tumor growth. Very hard to detect, especially when the patient is already terminal. Richard was murdered Evelyn, slowly, painfully, while you watched him die. I gasped, tears streaming. Bradford's hand on my shoulder. Brennan continued, After Richard died, Helen and I knew we were next. We tried to warn you. But Westwood was smarter. He targeted your daughter. 10 years ago, Melissa found some documents. Richard told her part of the truth, that he'd gotten money for the ranch, that it wasn't entirely legal. Westwood's people found out, started feeding her information, slowly, carefully, made her believe the ranch was stolen property, that you were confused, that Richard was a criminal. She doesn't know about me, doesn't know about the partnership, doesn't know she's being used. Once you're declared incompetent, once Melissa has power of attorney, Westwood will tear that ranch apart. He'll find Richard's evidence, and he'll destroy it. Then he'll eliminate you. Find the evidence, Evelyn. It's hidden where only someone who truly loved Richard would think to look. Use it, survive, take Westwood down. Helen and I left you everything. $6.8 million. Use it to rebuild, to fight, to live. Don't be a coward, Evelyn. Richard wasn't. He protected his family to his last breath. Now it's your turn. The video ended. I sat silent, tears everywhere. Bradford said softly, Arthur and Helen died 2 weeks after recording this. Brake lines cut. I choked out. Richard didn't buy the ranch. He earned it by protecting us. Bradford nodded. There's more. Richard left 2 letters in box 389. One explains where the evidence is hidden. The other is for Melissa. Bradford helped me out of the Mercedes. I limped. My hip throbbed with every step. The side door opened. James Peterson waited. 40s. Professional suit despite the late hour. Tired face. Worried eyes. Michael, Mrs. Porter. He nodded to each of us. Bradford, James, thank you for this. Peterson looked at my scratched face, my limp. When you called and said life or death, I believed you. He paused. This is very irregular. Emergency after-hours access requires identification and... I interrupted. I don't have ID. It's at the ranch. I had to run. Peterson studied my face. Mrs. Porter, I've known you 20 years, since you and Richard opened your first account here in 2005. You brought cookies every Christmas. I smiled through tears. Snickerdoodles, your favorite. Exactly. He glanced at Bradford. Under these circumstances, your visible distress, the hour Michael's credentials and my personal recognition, I can verify your identity. It's irregular, but it's legal. He led us through dim hallways, the vault room, heavy steel door. Peterson used his master key plus code. The vault opened with a mechanical clunk. Inside, rows of safe deposit boxes, floor to ceiling. Box 389, middle row, eye level. Peterson, I need your key, Mrs. Porter. I reached into my jacket pocket, pulled out the brass key, the decoy from Richard's study, held it, hesitated. Something felt wrong. Richard was never obvious. His note had said, "The real key is where I've always kept my heart, close to you." I touched the locket at my throat. Close to you, near my heart. I said softly, "Wait." I lifted the locket, opened the front clasp, Richard's photo inside. But now I looked closer. The frame seemed thick, too thick for just a photo. Bradford pulled out a pocket knife. "May I help?" He carefully pried the photo frame. A secret compartment popped open. A tiny brass key fell into my palm. I breathed. "Oh, Richard, you hid it in plain sight. I've been wearing it for 3 years, every single day." Tears came. "I never took this locket off because it was you, right against my heart." Peterson inserted his master key on the right. I inserted the real key from the locket on the left. We both turned. The lock clicked. The box slid out. Longer than expected, heavy. Peterson stepped out, leaving the vault door slightly open. I opened the lid. Inside, 3 CDROMS, labeled in Richard's handwriting. Westwood Evidence 1997 financial records. 2 cassette tapes, stack of printed documents, financial records highlighted, bank statements from 1996 to 1997, microfiche sheets in protective sleeves. Leather-bound journal in Richard's handwriting, evidence log Westwood laundering operation. 2 sealed envelopes, one marked Evelyn, one marked Melissa. I picked up the envelope marked Evelyn, hands trembling. Broke the seal, unfolded 3 handwritten pages. "My dearest Evelyn, if you're reading this, I'm gone and you're in danger. I'm so sorry. Everything I did in 1997 I did to protect you and Melissa. The CDs, tapes, and documents here are copies, enough to interest the FBI, but any good lawyer could argue they're fabricated. The originals are at the ranch, hidden where only someone who truly understands the land would think. My saddle, the one I used for Storm, it's hanging in Storm's stall. The evidence is sewn into the leather lining underneath. You'll need to cut the stitches carefully. Storm won't let anyone near that saddle. He's protective, fierce with strangers. But he trusts you, Evelyn. Only you. 10 years ago, Melissa found documents in the grain shed. I should have told her the whole truth. Instead, I told part of it. That I'd gotten money for the ranch. That it wasn't entirely legal. That honesty poisoned her. Made her ashamed. Made her vulnerable when Westwood's people found her. The letter marked Melissa explains everything. Only give it to her after it's over, after Westwood is caught. I'm leaving you with a terrible choice. Use the evidence and expose my crimes, or stay silent and risk your life. But I know you, Evelyn. You're stronger than you think. You'll survive this. You'll fight. You'll win. Forever yours, Richard. I finished reading, folded the letter carefully. The originals are at the ranch, in Storm's saddle, Bradford. So we have to go back. We go, right now, tonight, get the saddle, bring it to the FBI ourselves. That's insane. Westwood knows about the ranch. He could already be there. Then we need to hurry. My phone vibrated. Blocked number. A text appeared. "Evelyn, we need to talk. This is Marcus Westwood. Your daughter gave me your number." I stared at my flip phone. The text glowed on the tiny screen. Blocked number. Evelyn, we need to talk. This is Marcus Westwood. Your daughter gave me your number. I showed Bradford. How does he have my flip phone number? Not. So, Melissa. She must have given it to him. Another text arrived. I know this must be confusing, but I want you to understand everything Melissa is doing is to protect you. Then another. I've been advising her for over a year now, helping her understand you need professional care. A fourth message. I know you're at First National Bank right now, Route 7 branch, with Michael Bradford. I stopped breathing. He knows we're here. How? Bradford frowned. Does Melissa have access to your smartphone location? Memory hit. Last Christmas. She helped me set up a new phone. She said it was for safety. Find My Friends app. Did she install that? Yes, she said. This way I can always find you if something happens, Mom. Bradford's voice went cold. Westwood has access to her phone. He's been tracking your smartphone location for months. I grabbed my smartphone. Disabled location services. Not anymore. Good, but he already knows we're here. Another text. With an attached photo. I opened it. Brandon holding a lighter near hay bales in the barn. Storm's stall visible in the background. I gasped. No, he wouldn't. Bradford. Screenshot that now. Evidence of arson conspiracy. He took my phone. Screenshot. Saved to cloud. Emailed to himself. Done. He just handed us proof. More texts came fast. Your son-in-law is at the ranch now. Those old stables are a fire hazard, aren't they? Richard's evidence will turn to smoke, along with the financial records in your house. Another photo. Smoke rising from a stable window, orange light glowing. He's actually doing it. Bradford grabbed the phone. Screenshot again. This one too. A final text. Unless you stop this nonsense, come talk to me, alone. We can settle this quietly. The horses don't deserve to die. My rage exploded. He's going to burn them alive, Storm, all 12 horses. Bradford. It's a bluff. Arson is a felony. He's killed 3 people already. You think he cares about arson charges? Bradford held up his hands. Listen to me. I called FBI agent Rebecca Torres. Hours ago. She's driving from Boston now. How long until she arrives? Bradford checked his watch. She left around midnight, maybe 2:30 or 3 a.m. By then, the stable will be ash, and Richard's saddle, the real evidence, will be destroyed. Bradford held up the CDs from the box. We have these, copies. That's enough for the FBI to... You said it yourself. Any lawyer can claim digital files are fabricated. Richard said the originals are the key. Physical documents from 1997. Those can't be faked. Even so, Evelyn, you're walking into a trap. I know. And you're still going. I've lived on that ranch for 30 years. I know every building, every shadow, every hidden entrance. Westwood doesn't. That's my advantage. Bradford went silent, studied my face. He reached into his briefcase, pulled out a small device. Then wear this. Button camera, clip it to your jacket collar. It live streams to a secure cloud. Everything Westwood says or does will be recorded. I took the camera, clipped it to my collar. And I'm coming with you. I won't let you face him alone. You're a lawyer, not a... I grew up on a ranch in Wyoming. I know how to handle myself and how to handle horses. I nodded gratefully. Thank you. We gathered evidence from the box. CDS tapes documents into the backpack, journal and both letters in my inside jacket pocket. Called Peterson in. James, leave these in the box. Seal it. If anything happens to us, they go to FBI agent Rebecca Torres. Peterson nodded. Be careful, Evelyn. Bradford made an emergency call. Reported structure fire at Porter Ranch. Firefighters are 20 minutes out minimum. We got in the Mercedes. Engine started. Bradford. Agent Torres knows we're heading to the ranch. She'll have backup. Deputies. We drove through fog, headlights cutting through limited visibility. I stared out the window, saw faint orange glow in the distance. He's really doing it. He's burning my home. As we approached the ranch, the orange glow grew brighter. Not just the stable, the main house, too. Brandon wasn't just covering tracks, he was erasing everything. Before Evelyn steps into the fire, comment the first word that comes to mind right now. Dangerous, brave, crazy, or unbelievable. I want to know you're still here and what you're feeling. And a reminder what follows is told with some fictional details to emphasize the message. If you'd like to stop, now's the time. The Mercedes screamed up the driveway at 2:30 a.m. I didn't wait for it to stop. Hell. The central stable building consumed by flames, roof blazing, both wings burning, west wing already collapsed inward. Heat visible in the air, distortion waves. The horses inside screaming. High-pitched terror shrieks that ripped through my chest. I opened the door while the car was still moving. Jumped out. Bradford. Evelyn, wait. But I was already running. Brandon's SUV tore past us down the driveway, fleeing. Bradford filmed the license plate with his phone. Got you. Evidence. I ran toward the stable. Heat hit like a physical wall. West wing, 6 horses, fire everywhere. I remembered. Fire code inspection 5 years ago. Richard had installed quick-release latches. Safety requirement. Thank God for those latches. Bradford caught up. Which way? West wing, 6 horses. You take east, 6 more. We split. I dunked my bandana in the water trough, tied it around my nose and mouth. Smoke, thick, black, acrid. Couldn't see past 3 feet. Eyes burning, lungs protesting. First stall, Daisy the mare popped the quick release. Door swung open fast. Daisy charged through. Nearly trampled me. Bolted into the night. Second stall, Cooper, release. He ran. Third stall, Bella, release. She hesitated. Scared. I slapped her rump. Go, she bolted. Fourth, fifth. Released as fast as I could. Lungs burning from smoke. Coughing. Sixth stall. A yearling, panicking, rearing. I had to go inside, grabbed the lead rope, pulled him out. Released him outside. He ran to join the others. Bradford's shout from the east wing. 6 out, all clear. I counted. 5 released in west. 6. All accounted for except Storm. Storm stall. Separate center section, isolation stall for aggressive stallions. I approached through smoke. Heat intense. Beams cracking, breaking overhead. The door was open. Someone had opened it. Brandon trying to let horses escape or hoping Storm would run and the saddle would burn. But Storm was inside, rearing, terrified, refusing to leave. I understood. He's guarding the saddle, just like Richard said. Richard's saddle hung on the rack inside the stall, right wall. Storm stood between the open door and the saddle, protective stance. Storm boy, it's me. His ears swiveled toward my voice. Recognition, but still panicked, agitated. Nostrils flared, eyes white, hooves pounding the ground. He could kick, could trample. 1,200 pounds of panicked muscle. I stepped into the stall, hand out, palm up, steady. Alpha voice, low, firm, commanding. Storm, look at me. He stopped rearing, looked, conflict in his eyes, fear versus trust. I moved closer, slow but confident. I know you're scared, the fire is terrible, but I'm here. Your Alpha is here. Richard sent me. He said you'd protect it, and you did. Good boy, you've done your job. Now it's time to go. Still agitated but listening, ears forward. I moved toward the saddle. Storm watched. Touched the saddle, felt the weight. Heavy, evidence inside the lining. Lifted it off the rack. Awkward. 30 pounds. Hot leather. A beam cracked overhead. Embers rained down. Storm reared again, panic returning. I held the saddle. Had to calm him and escape. Alpha command. Sharp. Storm move. One command, not a request. Dominant voice. Storm jolted, then obeyed. Sidestepped. Recognized herd hierarchy. She equals leader equals must obey. I turned toward the door. Storm followed close behind. But the main exit was blocked. Fallen beam. Fire across the doorway. Window side window low, wide enough for a horse. Threw the saddle through first. It landed on grass outside. Jump Storm through the window. He hesitated. Window smaller than door, scary. Fire closing in, no choice. Alpha command. Jump now. Storm obeyed Alpha. Charged through the window. Crashed through, landed hard but safe. I climbed after. Burned my hands on the hot frame. Screamed. Searing pain shot through my palms. Flesh blistering. Fell onto the grass, gasping, rolled away from the heat. Storm stood guard beside me. Calm now that Alpha was safe. I lay on my back, lungs heaving, hands throbbing, blistering. Bradford ran over. "Did you get it?" I held up my burned hands, grimaced, then pointed to the saddle on the ground. "Got it." Behind us, the stable collapsed. Roof crashed inward with a thunderous roar. Flames shot 30 feet high. But all 12 horses were safe, huddled in the east pasture, scared but alive. Storm stayed beside me, wouldn't move. I tried to sit up. Bradford helped with one hand. "We did it, Richard, we did it." But no time to rest. Headlights, multiple vehicles, approaching fast through fog from the main road. Bradford and I locked eyes, both thinking the same thing. Westwood. 2 engines growled through the fog. One was a black Mercedes sedan, smooth and predatory. The other was the SUV that had chased us. I tightened my grip on Richard's saddle, feeling the hot leather scorch my blistered palms. Storm pressed his massive shoulder against my side. Bradford stood 3 feet away. His phone raised the button camera, blinking steadily. The Mercedes door opened. Marcus Westwood stepped out, tall and silver-haired, wearing a dark overcoat that looked too expensive for a barn fire. His face was calm, almost pleasant, but his eyes scanned the yard with cold calculation. Behind him, Melissa climbed out of the SUV, her expression torn between fear and something I couldn't name. Westwood smiled, the kind of smile a banker gives before foreclosing on a widow. "Evelyn Porter," he said, his voice smooth as polished wood. "You've caused me a great deal of trouble tonight." I didn't answer. My throat was raw from smoke. I held the saddle like a shield. Storm snorted, ears flat. "That saddle belongs to me." Westwood continued, stepping forward. "Richard stole evidence from a legitimate business transaction. I'm here to reclaim it." "Legitimate." I finally spoke, my voice hoarse but steady. "You laundered $5 million, murdered my husband, and killed Arthur and Helen Brennan. That's not legitimate. That's a confession." Westwood's smile faded. "Prove it." Bradford tapped his shirt where the button camera sat. "Already done. Everything you've said tonight is being live-streamed to a secure server. The FBI has it. The Montana State Police have it." Westwood froze. Uncertainty flickered across his face. His hand moved toward his coat pocket. "Don't," I warned. He pulled out a small black pistol anyway, holding it low at his side. "I'm not going to prison because of a dead man's paranoia." "Marcus, stop." Melissa's voice cut through the fog. She stepped between us, hands raised. "Mom, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about Richard, about the Brennans, about any of this. He told me Bradford was a scam artist, that you were losing your mind, that the inheritance was fake." "Melissa, move," Westwood snapped. She didn't. "No. I've been calling you every night because he told me you were alone and vulnerable. I gave him your location because he said he was protecting you. But he lied, didn't he? He killed Richard. He killed the Brennans. And he was going to kill you tonight." Westwood raised the gun, pointing it past Melissa directly at my chest. "Move or I'll shoot through you." Melissa stood, her ground tears streaming. "Then you'll have to." Sirens split the night. Red and blue lights flickered through the fog. Sheriff Tom Bradley's voice boomed from the darkness. "Marcus Westwood, FBI, and Montana State Police. Drop the weapon and put your hands on your head." Flashlight beams pierced the smoke from 3 directions. 4 deputies emerged, rifles raised. Agent Rebecca Torres stepped out of an unmarked sedan, her badge glinting, her sidearm trained on Westwood. Bradford kept filming. Westwood's hand trembled. The gun wavered. Storm lunged forward with a scream, rearing up, and Westwood stumbled backward. The pistol clattered to the gravel. 2 deputies tackled him, cuffing his wrists while Torres read him his rights. Melissa collapsed to her knees, sobbing. I handed the saddle to Bradford, who opened the leather flap and pulled out a Ziploc bag containing a CD, a cassette tape, and a folded, handwritten ledger, all preserved for 28 years. Torres took the evidence, logging it into a plastic bin. Bradley approached me. "Ma'am, are you all right?" I nodded, though my hands felt like they'd been dipped in acid. "The horses are safe. That's what matters." Melissa looked up at me, her face streaked with soot and tears. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I thought I was helping you." I didn't answer. Not yet. The fire trucks arrived, dousing the last flames. Torres walked westward toward her sedan. Bradford handed me his phone showing the full live stream recording, time-stamped and uploaded to 3 servers. But as the adrenaline faded, one question remained. How had that envelope appeared in my locked office? The hiss of water hitting hot metal cut through the pre-dawn silence. 2 fire trucks trained their hoses on the smoldering stable ruins. Steam rose in thick plumes mingling with fog. The main house stood intact, its walls blackened with soot, but its bones unbroken. I sat on the rear step of an ambulance, my burned palms throbbing under fresh gauze. "Second-degree burns, Mrs. Porter," the paramedic said. "You need to get to the hospital." "Later," I said. "I need to finish this first." Agent Rebecca Torres approached carrying an evidence bag and a tablet. She sat beside me. "Mrs. Porter, I need your full statement. Everything from 11:23 p.m. until now." I walked her through it. The phone call from Melissa, the envelope in my locked office, Bradford's arrival, the bank vault, Arthur Brennan's video confession, Westwood's texts, the fire, the 12 horses, the saddle. It took 20 minutes. When I finished, Torres signaled to a forensic technician. He wore latex gloves and carried a scalpel. Carefully, he sliced through the saddle's stitching, peeling back the leather to reveal a heavy plastic bag. Inside were 3 CDR-OMS2 cassette tapes, a stack of yellowed financial documents from 1997, sheets of microfiche, and a leather-bound journal. Torres examined each item. "This is comprehensive. Dates, amounts, account numbers, names of 15 people in Westwood's network. A complete financial trail." "Is it enough?" I asked. "To convict Marcus Westwood? Absolutely. Money laundering, racketeering, conspiracy. And that's before we get to the murders. 3 murders. Richard Porter, Arthur Brennan, Helen Brennan." Torres set down the journal. "We reopened the investigation into the Brennan accident, found evidence of brake line tampering. The mechanic cooperated. Identified Westwood from a photo. Tears slid down my face. So it's confirmed. Richard was murdered." Torres's voice softened. "Yes, Marcus Westwood killed your husband Evelyn, slowly, painfully, while you watched him die." I wept silently. Bradford's hand came to rest on my shoulder. Sheriff Bradley approached. "Update. We caught Brandon Harrison on Route 7. He's in custody. Confessed everything. Westwood hired him to torch the stable. Paid him $50,000. I glanced toward the SUV where Melissa sat clutching a letter, her face swollen from crying. "What about Melissa?" Torres followed my gaze. "Your daughter is cooperating fully. She genuinely believed you were unwell. Westwood showed her falsified medical reports. He's been grooming her for over a year. What does that mean for her? Probably a 2-year suspended sentence, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service, mandatory therapy. If she keeps clean, she'll never see the inside of a cell." "That's fair," I said slowly. Torres stood. "I need to transport Westwood to federal holding. You'll need to come in for formal deposition tomorrow afternoon." "All right." Marcus Westwood was loaded into the back of a black FBI sedan, his wrists cuffed, his expensive suit filthy. Through the partition, he saw me watching. Our eyes met. His gaze was cold, full of hate. I stared back unflinching. He looked away first. The sedan pulled out its taillights, vanishing into the mist. The sky brightened. The 12 horses grazed peacefully in the east pasture. Storm stood alone, watching me, waiting. I walked to him slowly. I stroked his neck. "You protected it, just like Richard asked." "Good boy." He whinnied softly, leaning into my palm. Melissa approached hesitantly, clutching the letter. "Mom," I didn't turn around. I kept stroking Storm. "I read Dad's letter 3 times. I understand now. Everything he did, why he did it. I'm so sorry, Mom." I turned to face her. "Read it again, as many times as you need. Then decide what kind of person you want to be. Can we talk later?" "Later, not now. I'm too tired and too angry." She nodded and walked back to the SUV. Bradford came to my side. "I'll drive you to the hospital." "All right." I looked back at the ranch. Damaged but standing. The stable destroyed, but it could be rebuilt. "We survived Richard," I whispered. "We won." The smell of antiseptic woke me before the pain did. sharp and clinical, nothing like smoke and horse sweat. I opened my eyes to white walls, a beeping monitor, and bandages wrapped around both palms. Afternoon light slipped through the blinds in thin stripes. Every breath scraped my lungs like inhaling splinters. A nurse adjusted the IV beside me. "You're awake. Good. The doctor will check your burns soon." "How's the pain?" "Manageable," I said. She gave me a knowing look. "You ranch folks are all the same. Tougher than you should be." When she left, the silence pressed in. No wind rattling barn doors, no horses shifting in their stalls, just the steady mechanical pulse of hospital life. Safe, but hollow. A soft knock broke the quiet. Michael Bradford stepped inside carrying a plastic bag with my belongings. He pulled up a chair beside the bed. "Torres called," he said. "Westwood's arraignment is this afternoon. Bail denied. He'll stay in federal custody until trial." "Good." Bradford hesitated, then reached into the bag and pulled out a yellowed envelope. My name curved across it in Richard's handwriting. "This was in the safe deposit box," he said gently. "You didn't get the chance to read it." I took it carefully. "Thank you." He stood. "I'll give you privacy." The door closed softly behind him. I opened the envelope and unfolded 3 sheets of notebook paper. "Evelyn, if you're reading this, then you found the evidence. That means Marcus came for you. It also means you survived." The partnership with Arthur was not blackmail. It was cowardice dressed as loyalty. I chose friendship over the law, and I carried that shame every day afterward. I hid the evidence because I knew someday you or Melissa might need protection. I never imagined it would be from the same man. 10 years ago, I told Melissa half the truth. I thought shielding her would keep her innocent. Instead, I left her vulnerable to someone who understood resentment better than I did. Give her the letter I wrote for her. Let her see the whole story. Don't let my failure become hers. You are stronger than anyone realizes. 60 is not frailty. It is survival refined. 30 years on that land taught you patience, instinct, and endurance. The ranch was never Arthur's, never Marcus's. It was always yours. I built it with my hands, but I built it for you. Protect it. Protect yourself. And if Melissa finds her way back to who she once was, give her the chance I failed to give her. I love you, always. Richard. My vision blurred. I pressed the pages against my chest and let the tears come quietly. Grief had been sharp once. Now it was something steadier, threaded with gratitude. Another knock sounded. Agent Torres appeared at the doorway with Melissa behind her. Torres stepped aside, leaving us alone. Melissa stood near the foot of the bed. She looked smaller somehow. "Mom, sit." She lowered herself into the chair. I read Dad's letter again. I didn't understand him before. I thought he was hiding things from me. I didn't realize he was trying to carry them. "You were trying to have me declared incompetent," I said. "You brought a man who burned my home." Her jaw tightened. I know, I believed him. That doesn't excuse it. No, it doesn't. Silence settled between us, heavy but honest. "What do you want me to do?" she asked. "I want 3 months," I said. "No calls, no visits, no messages. Use that time to finish probation. Go to therapy. Decide who you want to be." Her eyes filled. 3 months. "If you're serious about change, prove it quietly. And if I do, I don't promise forgiveness. I promise the possibility of a conversation." She nodded slowly. "I'll do it." "Torres is waiting. Tell her everything." Melissa stood, hesitated, then left without looking back. Later, the doctor examined my burns and said I could go home the next day. When the room was quiet again, I traced the edge of Richard's letter. The ranch would rebuild. Storm would heal. Scars would remain, but they would not define me. I closed my eyes and whispered into the stillness, "We begin again." May sunshine slanted through the windows of the new stable office, warming the pine desk where I sat reviewing ranch accounts. The room smelled of fresh lumber and leather oil. Outside, green pastures rolled toward the mountains dotted with wildflowers. The rebuilt stable stood solid and fireproof, a quiet testament to survival. I absently traced the scars across my palms. Permanent. Badges of courage, Rebecca Torres had called them. I called them reminders. The Brennan inheritance had been spent carefully. $2.1 million for the new stable, $900,000 for house repairs, $500,000 into a trust fund for the horses, $3.5 million saved and invested. The ranch was profitable again. 6 border horses, weekend riding lessons. Storm retired, lived in peace. My phone rang, Rebecca Torres. Rebecca, how's Boston? Busy. The court handed down the verdict yesterday. Westwood got life without parole. 3 consecutive life sentences for 3 murders, plus 40 years for racketeering and money laundering. He'll die in prison. Relief washed through me. Good. His organization is dismantled. 15 arrests total. Your husband's evidence brought down a network that operated for 30 years. Richard would be proud. An old pickup truck pulled into the driveway. Melissa. She stepped out transformed. Simple jeans, plain t-shirt, work boots. Her hair fell natural gray streaks threading her temples. She carried a white bakery box. This was her 5th visit, bi-weekly slow rebuilding. I opened the door. Hi, Mom, I brought coffee cake, the kind Dad used to like. Thank you. We sat at the kitchen table, ate cake in silence, drank coffee. My probation officer says I'm doing well, Melissa said quietly. Therapy is hard, but helpful. 2-year suspended sentence, 5 years probation, 500 hours community service. If I complete everything, I won't go to prison. Then don't violate it. I won't, I promise. She paused. Could I help with the ranch not as an owner, just as someone who wants to work, to learn, to try to become the daughter Dad hoped for? I studied her carefully. I saw genuine change. But change was fragile. The north pasture fence needs repair. Storm needs grooming every day. The border stalls need mucking every morning. Hope flickered in her eyes. I can do that. It's hard work, manual labor, starting at 6 a.m. And at the end of it all, I may still not trust you fully. I understand. I don't expect forgiveness. I just want a chance to try. Monday, 6 a.m. Bring thick gloves and steel-toed boots. Grateful tears. Thank you, Mom. Don't thank me yet. You might quit after one morning. I won't quit. We'll see. After Melissa left, I walked to Storm's stall. I stroked his neck. What do you think, boy can people really change? He whinnied softly, leaning into my hand. I hope so, for her, for all of us. Richard's saddle hung in the office, repaired, preserved. I touched the leather. We did it, Richard. We survived. We won. And now, perhaps we're healing. I stepped into the main pasture. 12 horses grazed peacefully. 150 acres mine reclaimed through blood and fire. Warm sun on my face. Spring wind carrying the scent of wildflowers. I am Evelyn Porter. I am 60 years old. I run a horse ranch. I buried a husband and rebuilt my life. I outsmarted criminals and survived my daughter's betrayal. I jumped out of a hayloft, rescued horses from fire, and faced a loaded gun without flinching. Tomorrow I will feed the horses. I will mend fences. I will teach my daughter if she's willing to learn what working this land means. That is strength. That is wisdom. That is victory. Storm trotted over, standing beside me, both of us gazing toward the horizon. Some debts have been paid, some battles won, some wounds healed, and some 60-year-old women have proven that age is power, not weakness. I won my battle, and now I will live in that victory. And to you listening to this story, remember, this age is not a closing door. It is a hard-earned shield. At 60, with smoke in my lungs and betrayal in my heart, I finally understood that survival isn't about strength in your hands, but steadiness in your spirit. God did not rescue me from the fire. He gave me the courage to walk through it. Looking back, I see my mistake. Clearly, I doubted myself before anyone else could. Don't be like I was. Don't let fear, pride, or family pressure silence your instincts. That's what family drama stories are really about, not scandal, but awakening. The best grandma stories are not about comfort. They are about grit, forged over decades. Through these family drama stories, we learn that broken trust demands boundaries. Through these grandma stories, we see that wisdom grows louder when we choose to listen. And if family drama stories have taught me anything, it's this: strength matures. It doesn't fade. The quiet power inside so many women in grandma stories is proof that experience is an advantage, not a weakness. My belief now is simple resilience is a decision made daily. I once waited for others to validate my worth. I won't make that mistake again. Speak sooner, stand firmer, protect what matters before flames force you to. If this reflection meant something to you, I invite you to share your thoughts below, pass it along to someone who needs encouragement, and subscribe for more journeys of growth and courage. Thank you sincerely for staying with me until the very end. And a gentle note, upcoming stories may include fictionalized elements created for learning purposes. If that isn't for you, feel free to explore other content that fits you better.
와, 여길 뚫고 들어갔다고? 왜 그런 거지?
이거 치고 한 바퀴 두 바퀴 돌아서 그런 것 같아.
브레이크를 엑셀로 착각하고, 아니, 엑셀을 밟았나 보다. 브레이크를 밟아야 되는데. 아휴.
밥 먹으려다 깜짝 놀랐네. 아저씨랑 아들도 많이 다친 것 같은데.
너랑 같은 차 아니야, 디미야. 저거는 GV70이야.
어디 가야 되냐?
아, 70.
거의 입맛 따시는
아, 뭐 먹어야지, 나온 김에.
어떤 거
뭐 먹냐?
여기 가야 되나?
여기 더럽게 비싸게 파는데? 아닌가? 비슷한가?
플러스 수제 양념 돼지갈비 200g에
2만 원. 2만 원이야. 1인분에 2만 원이 미친 거 아니야? 갈비를? 돼지를? 너무 비싸게 파는데? 오빠가 10,000원에 팔았었어. 250g에.
너무 비싸다.
자, 핸드폰 저거 살려야 되는데 여기서 하면 되나?
여기서부터 먼저 살릴까? 핸드폰부터?
돈 들어가나 근데 여기?
얼른 들어가.
아, 밖으로는 그 유심 그냥 있는 거 쓰면 되나? SK거? 안 바꿔도 돼 이거는?
일단 물어봐야지 살릴 수 있냐고.
일로 들어가 계잖아.
안녕하세요. 뭐라고 얘기해서?
또 살릴라.
방송폰 여기에 SK 유심이 들어 있는데
그냥 써도 돼요?
해지를 했잖아.
해지를 했거든요.
해지를 했는데 이 유심을 쓸 수 있나 물어보라고.
네, 물어볼래.